prediction time. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. We're starting to get back in the game. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down and predicting every single game in the Week 9 slate. But before we get to that, let's take a look at how the results were last week. Last week, I went a respectable 11-5. These were the games I got wrong. These are the ones I got right, leading me to a record of 75-49 on the season. And there are two folks who are doing much better than I am. We have two people tied for first place here with a record of 91-32. That is Best Better and Alan Coleman still leading the pack. A huge shout out to both of you for whooping my ass so far. And let's see if things can get right with Tom Grossi with these predictions. I don't know why I referred to myself in the third person, but it won't happen again. Starting off with Tom Grossi's predictions. Damn it! You got the Houston Texans taking on the New Jersey Jets. Oh, the Texans, they had a close game with the Indianapolis Colts last week, and it was not the prettiest of games. Not only just on the field performance, but on top of that, losing Stephon Diggs for the year, which is not going to help that squad whatsoever. You already have Nico Collins, who's injured, and now Stephon Diggs, who is out for the season. Not going to help, especially when they made that blockbuster trade in the offseason, trying to give them even more weapons. However, I still kind of believe in the Texans offense. CJ Stroud had a rough time against the Packers defense, and against the Colts, Joe Mixon was still all reliable, and he has just been phenomenal this season. I was way off on my analysis of him. He did not do great with Cincinnati that last year. Their run game was atrocious, but now he has come to Houston, and he is making that team much better. They're taking on the New Jersey Jets on Thursday night, and oh boy, Jets, things have not been going well. Not only are they losing to pretty good teams, but now they're losing to the New England Patriots. And don't worry, I'm sure Aaron and Devontae will come up with a plan.
I have an idea.
Really? What is it?
Let's leave.
But it has been a rough season for Jets fans here, and you look at the Jets as a whole, and you bring in Devontae Adams. Of course, you already have Aaron Rodgers. Basically got everything that they wanted, but the O-line is still not the best. But on top of that, that defense has been definitely disappointing, especially their run defense. And taking a look at this game, I would not be surprised if the Jets wind up winning at all, but in good conscience, I can't pick them because they haven't demonstrated that they can be a functional team right now, and time is running out very quickly. Within their division, there's not a lot of competition because the Bills are kicking all of their asses right now. And so there definitely is still some wiggle room within the AFC, and it is only Week 9. But coming up on the halfway point of the season, the Jets got to figure it out sooner rather than later, and their margin of error is so low that almost every game going forward is going to feel like a playoff game. And so all that being said, with Joe Mixon playing as well as he is, even though the Texans are down a couple of receivers, I am going to pick the Strouds to get the W here. Like I said, I just don't believe enough in this Jets team right now. They are not playing complimentary football, and because of that, the Strouds should be very pleased on Thursday. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Cowboys coming off a rough loss on Sunday night against the San Francisco 49ers, something that they should be used to at this point. And honestly, it is just infuriating to watch the Cowboys right now. Yes, they don't have Micah Parsons, but that defense, it's more than just not having Micah Parsons. They have fallen off a cliff. From going one of the top 5 defenses last year to where they are now is abysmal. On top of that, the offense, as I have talked about, they have no run game whatsoever. CeeDee Lamb is really one of their few options that they have there. And I like Ferguson and Turpin and Tolbert, but when it comes to that passing game, it is anemic right now. They're just not playing great football, and Cowboys fans, yeah, they're completely done with Mike McCarthy.
Can we just calm down here, Erica, please?
I want him in handcuffs and I want him gone.
And honestly, for good reason. You look at that Sunday game where the Cowboys had a shot to win. There's 3 minutes left. They have the 2-minute warning, and they are just chucking the ball down the field. They don't convert on first down. They wind up going for it. They don't get it. And the play calling is infuriating. And I think that, honestly, teams have just figured out the Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, taking a look at the Atlanta Falcons, they had a big-time win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, now sweeping the Buccaneers in the NFC South. And for the Falcons, it is their division to lose. Yes, their pass rush is not impressive whatsoever, but I do like their secondary. Of course, their run game is great. And Kyle Pitts had 2 touchdowns. Or 1.5, depending on who you ask last week. And so for the Falcons, they have it all in front of them. And being played at home, I actually almost was inclined to pick the Cowboys here because the Falcons just seem like one of those weird teams where they're a good team. They're not great or anything like that. They definitely have some flaws. But when they're starting to cook, they can look pretty damn good. And so I am going to go with the Falcons here just because, same thing with the Jets, the ineptitude of the Cowboys right now is significant. Their offense is not functioning. Their defense is horrible. And yeah, it's just not a great time to be a Cowboys fan. And I'm going to go with the Falcons to get the win here. I don't expect this to be a very pretty game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys are able to make something work, but they're really going to have to change that offense if they want to see some success here. And I don't see that happening this week. So because of that, I'm going with the Falcons. Following that, you have an AFC East showdown between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins, well, Tua is back, and that offense did look better with Tua. Again, the bar was really, really low, but losing to a game-winning field goal from the Arizona Cardinals. And the Dolphins, it's just been a very disappointing season. And I like the Dolphins a lot. Tua, obviously, you're worried about his health, and I think that Tua coming back from injury for a second week, I think he's going to be a bit better than what we saw. We'll see if he can push the ball down the field. But ultimately, the Dolphins, yeah, I don't know how much hope I have for them in the remaining of the season because December football is pretty darn close. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills beat the freaking crap out of the Seahawks in Seattle, though I wouldn't blame you if you were confused that it was played in Seattle because there was a lot of Bills Mafia that was there to support them. And the Bills, 2 weeks into bringing in Amari Cooper, has really helped Keon Coleman start to develop, which is super duper exciting. And the Bills with Josh Allen, their division is in their hands. It is theirs to lose because the Dolphins ain't doing nothing right now. The Jets are the Jets, and the Patriots, well, at least they can beat the Jets. And taking a look at this rivalry between the Bills and the Dolphins, it's just not really there this season.
I don't want to hurt your feelings. But the truth is, you've never mattered all that much to me.
The Bills, who we thought were going to kind of go through this reload, rebuild this year, they are doing that pretty damn well. And the Dolphins, they're just trying to figure out how they can compete. And being played in Buffalo, I got the Bills with the win here. I just don't think the Dolphins are ready to compete against them. It is a divisional game, so you never know. Things could get wonky. But I got Buffalo getting the win here. And Dolphins, yeah, I'm sorry. Then you got the Vegas Raiders taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Raiders putting up a pretty good fight against the Kansas City Chiefs in a losing effort. And unfortunately, Andy Reid is now tied for the most wins at Allegiant Stadium, which is not great if you're a Raiders fan. That already hurts. But the Raiders, their identity is very flawed. Their offense is just not good at all. Whether they're trying to figure out what's going on at quarterback or just having no run game whatsoever, they're trading away Devontae Adams. Yeah, this season just seems to be a wash. Meanwhile, talking about disappointment, talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, because the Bengals, they sure don't look like the contenders we thought they would be.
You're not living up to the legend. Gato.
Kitty goes out. And the Cincinnati Bengals losing to the Philadelphia Eagles last week. The Eagles defense absolutely dominated that game. And for the Bengals, I like Chase Brown a lot, but that was something they had to work on in the offseason. Joe Burrow is still really good, but that offense is not humming along. And talking about that defense, well, ooh, that defense definitely has some problems. And now for the Bengals, they got to figure out what the hell they're going to do for the rest of the season. Of course, T. Higgins didn't play last week, which definitely didn't help things. And for the Bengals, they're kind of in the same boat as the Jets, in which they're going to have some major contracts coming up, but they got to figure out what kind of team they're going to be. If they're going to try and make a playoff push, they got to get things right quickly. Thankfully for them, I think they'll be able to do it against the Raiders, who are just a struggling team right now. So I got the Bengals getting the win. I don't know how much it's going to help things or it's going to change their trajectory, but at least the kitty could be a little bit happy this week because I got the Bengals getting the win. Then you got the LA Chargers taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Chargers, Oh boy, they beat the crap out of the New Orleans Saints last week, and that defense is looking real good, even though the Saints are just not good. Yeah, the Chargers, I feel pretty confident about them this season because, again, whether they make the playoffs or not, Justin Herbert has been balling out, and on top of that, they got the right coach there. They're going to be taking on the Cleveland Browns, and listen, since Deshaun Watson is out for the season, Jim Harbaugh had to do some research on Jameis Winston.
What do you got? You got a sex addiction? You got a problem with sex? You addicted to sex? A sex addiction or something?
No, sir.
Every time Jim Harbaugh talks, you're going to get something good. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns, they won last week. Got a big win over the Baltimore Ravens. Jameis Winston slicing up that Ravens defense. And now maybe there's some hope and optimism in Cleveland because there sure as hell wasn't before this. And now taking a look at this game, this should be super duper fun. You have two good defenses. Both offenses can put up points, though they are both going to rely on their run game. And it's going to be a matter of which defense can edge out the other. And taking a look at the Chargers this year, like I said, I like the trajectory that they're on, though they are going up against the Browns defense, which I think is really good. And even though it's going to be a challenge to contain Justin Herbert and their run game, I do think that the Browns are going to get the win here. I just think that offense with a returning Nick Chubb, Jameis Winston, the game that he had last week, he could throw more interceptions because while you do get touchdowns with Jameis, he also is going to throw a bunch of interceptions, though not last week. I think this is going to kind of re-energize the Cleveland fan base a little bit because, like I said, they haven't had much to be happy about. And I do have the Browns getting a win against the Chargers, though I do imagine this will be a close game. Cleveland, you get it done. Following that, oh, this should be a game. You got the New England Patriots taking on the Tennessee Titans. And for these two teams, they're already thinking about draft implications.
I hope you have a good day.
Hope you have a better week.
I hope your month is full of successful days and a lot of great ventures. I hope you just come up, brother.
I hope your whole year is spectacular.
Oh, you hope my year is spectacular.
Yeah.
The Patriots coming away with a big win over the Jets last week. Drake May getting knocked out with a concussion. Jacoby Brissett comes in, and they were able to get that big-time win, which, oh boy, that's really bad on the Jets because the Patriots, they're not a great football team right now. But seeing wins like that last week gives you a little bit of confidence maybe in their future. And as of right now, Drake May is a limited participant in practice, so there is a chance he plays on Sunday, though I'm sure the Patriots are going to be more careful than not with him. They're going to be taking on the Tennessee Titans who, oh God, that was a massacre. They got obliterated. One more time. By the Detroit Lions. And it wasn't even Jared Goff who threw 3 touchdowns. David Montgomery throwing touchdowns. The run game was amazing. The special teams, you had punt returns for a touchdown. You had nearly 200 return yards. And the Lions just dominated the Titans, who are just not a good football team this year. And hey, they have that in common with the Patriots. This is going to be a game of who is worse. The Titans special teams maybe not so good, but the Titans defense is still at least pretty damn solid. They're going up against the Patriots, and yeah, this is just not a good football game. I don't think anyone's going to enjoy watching this game. I am going to go with the Patriots to get the win just because I don't believe in the Titans right now. I don't believe in their offense. I don't believe in their special teams. And yeah, the Patriots, they showed they could at least win some games. So I'm going with New England to get the win. And yeah, this is just a bad week to have eyes. Following that, you got an NFC East matchup between the Washington Commanders and the New Jersey Giants. Oh boy, Commanders fans. You had one of the most electric moments in your team's history as Jaden Daniels heaved up a Hail Mary and it was answered by Noah Brown. And also the Bears just being incompetent, but I get to laugh at that. The Commanders, they had a tough game against the Bears and it was a very, very ugly game. They limited any touchdowns until the third quarter and didn't allow the go-ahead score until literally the last minute of that game. But on the flip side, they went against a very good Bears defense and were able to get a touchdown literally as time expired, because before that, it was all just field goals. And this is all, again, with Jaden Daniels having a rib injury, which is not fun to play through. And it doesn't really get better as the season goes along. You just learn to manage it better. They're going up against the Giants, and the Giants, they get to face Jaden Daniels again, and I'm sure they're not jealous at all.
Oh, jealous?
Yeah, and
oh,
so
really?
now I think I know exactly who she was referring to.
Let's dance, bag.
All right, sweetheart, you think you have something to...
I am not jealous!
The Giants in a losing effort against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. And hey, maybe they should try that 2-point conversion again, because that worked out pretty well. I really feel like that is just the epitome of the Giants team this year because they are just not great. That defensive line, I always think it's super impressive, but that offense leaves much to be desired. Malik Neighbors, I think, is a really good wide receiver, having a good rookie year, but that team just has so many holes and so many flaws. And even though it's a divisional game, and again, things can get a little bit weird, I gotta go with the hot team right now, and that is the Washington Commanders, who are leading the division. I don't think the Giants are really gonna get in the way of that, and because of that, I gotta go with Wildflower getting another win. Then, oh man, we got some great games this week. You got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Carolina Panthers. Both these teams already looking towards the offseason. Well, at least the Panthers are.
Because I'm all out of money!
And both teams are struggling. The Saints, they got their ass kicked. The Panthers, they lost to the Broncos. Now, things will get a little bit better for the Saints because Derek Carr is expected to return this Sunday, which will be a big boost for that struggling offense. And while they have had so many injuries this year, there's just a lot of things wrong with the Saints, whether it's their players trying to injure Justin Herbert, whether it is coaching. They are just a mess right now, and I'm curious what the hell that offseason is going to look like because I can imagine it is not going to be pretty. They're going to be taking on the Carolina Panthers, who they're just in a state of constant depression right now. The Panthers are not a good football team, whether it's Bryce Young or Andy Dalton. They are going to struggle, and there is not a lot to look forward to. They traded away Deontay Johnson. Their season is basically a wash at this point. And as of right now, with a returning Derek Carr, I got to go with the Saints to be the better team here and beat the Panthers. If the Panthers get a win, Saints, yeah, it's time to call it quits for the season. But as of right now, you can wait at least one more week because I got the Saints winning. Then you got the Denver Broncos taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Broncos coming away with a big win over the Carolina Panthers, a game that they really had in hand. Their defense playing well, and on top of that, Bo Nix had a phenomenal game. And the Broncos, they're starting to build some momentum here. Yes, they beat a bad Saints team, and they also beat a bad Panthers team. But Bo Nix is starting to look better and better every single week, and now he's going to face his toughest competition yet, going against the Baltimore Ravens, who, as we just talked about, their defense has been a bit of an issue. They didn't really look that great against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know Baker threw a couple of interceptions a few weeks back, but you worried about how many points they were scoring. And then last week, they lose to the Browns. And hey, they're doing it to themselves.
Oh, a dollar.
Whether it's dropped interceptions or that secondary just not looking as good as it could be, the Ravens, there definitely is some cause for concern. They made that trade for Deontay Johnson to give Lamar Jackson yet another weapon, and I don't think their offense is really the problem here. Now, I will say I think there's a little too much doom and gloom for the Ravens. I still think they are a very good football team, but going up against the Broncos, we'll see how well that offense is able to go against a very good defense here. And Bo Nix, I'm curious to see if he can keep up with Lamar Jackson just in terms of scoring points. Overall, though, being played in Baltimore, I do have the Ravens getting the win here. I don't think Bo Nix and the Broncos are there just yet, but if they can keep this a close game, who knows? Maybe they'll be able to sneak away with one, but I got the Baltimore Ravens winning this week, and yeah, no more dropped interceptions. Then you got the Chicago Bears taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Bears suffered a heartbreaking loss in D.C. right around election time, too.
Not really. I blame the government.
Coincidence? I think not. But the Bears, we talk about their defense. Their defense played great football, considering they only allowed field goals the entire time until there was literally zeros on the clock. And I know they're going to get a lot of crap for not being ready on that last play, and rightfully so. But their offense also really wasn't that great. Really started coming along in the third quarter with the DeAndre Swift touchdown. But it took until the very end for Caleb Williams to lead that team down the field and score. And Caleb Williams did not have his best game against Washington. And Washington also doesn't have the best defense, though they are definitely playing better than a lot of people anticipated. They're going to be taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who have back-to-back game-winning field goals. And the Cardinals, they're now leading the NFC West, which I don't know if anyone anticipated that. Like I said, they were my dark horse team to make the playoffs this season. And the Cardinals, they're playing pretty good. Marvin Harrison Jr. having a great game last week. Of course, James Conner is just phenomenal on that squad. But the Cardinals, they're a little bit of a weird football team in which they obviously have deficiencies, especially in their secondary. And I think Caleb Williams could have himself a nice game this week. But the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, they can always pull something out of their hat and potentially get this win. And it ain't pretty, but 2-game winners It matters. And here being played at home, I was going to give the Cardinals the benefit of the doubt. I almost picked the Cardinals last week, and then I switched my pick to the Dolphins, and I almost did the same here. But I am going to go with the Chicago Bears to get the W. I know I'm probably going to fall into the same trap, but hey, Cardinals fans, maybe if I just keep picking against you, you'll just keep on getting game-winning field goals. So I am going to go with the Bears. I think Caleb Williams should have a better game than he did last week. I also believe that defense should be able to contain Marvin Harrison Jr., and if they can stop the run, it's going to be tough for the Cardinals to get the win here. So I'm going with Chicago to get the win, and Cardinals, please get another game winner. Following that, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jaguars losing a game winner to their former teammate Brandon McManus last week against the Green Bay Packers. And Trevor Lawrence, beside that fumble and interception, had a pretty damn good game, especially with what he's working with. They didn't have Etienne. Now they lost Christian Kirk for the year, and Brian Thomas Jr. is injured. And yeah, it is just not a fun time in Jacksonville. And I am just so sorry because I like the Jaguars a lot. And they're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who they beat the Bengals last week, and now this week are taking on the Glitter Kitties.
So what do we do then? Sometimes you gotta just kill a cat.
And the Eagles, their defense has been really good these past few weeks, and their offense is really starting to move along now. Yes, they went up against a bad defense in the Bengals, but Jalen Hurts was phenomenal. Their run game is really starting to gain some momentum, and Saquon Barkley, of course, is just a monster. And I think the Eagles are in a good place right now, going up against a struggling Jaguars team. That defense should be able to dominate once again, especially because the Jaguars don't really have anyone to throw the ball to right now. And so I have the Eagles getting a big win at home. I don't know if the Jaguars are going to be able to turn their season around, but I don't think it's happening this week in Philadelphia. So, Eagles, you get the win. And then you got the Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. The Lions, we just talked about them. They absolutely decimated the Tennessee Titans. Their special teams was amazing. Their run game was great. It's just, they're firing on all cylinders. They were ranked number 1 in the power rankings this week because right now I think the Lions look like the best team in football, and that's not great. They're going up against the Green Bay mother-loving Packers, and Jordan Love was injured again last week, and he might try to play through it.
Down, stay down.
Thankfully, Evan Williams, Jair Alexander, and Jordan Love, who all got injured last week, none of those seem to be serious. And with Jordan Love, it's day-to-day with a strained groin. And taking a look at this game, oh man, this has a ton of implications. Not only is this a great test for both teams, it's an NFC North divisional game, and it could potentially make or break who is going to win this division, because as of right this second, I think it's between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. The Lions, like I said, they're looking like the best team in football. They have a phenomenal run game. Jared Goff is playing near perfect at the quarterback position. On top of that, the defense, even though the pass rush is not that great for the Lions, their secondary is playing pretty damn well. Even though I do know that teams can move the ball against them, with an injured Jordan Love, it is going to be tough. Now, the good thing is that if all these guys play like Evan Williams and Jair, that should make that defense a bit better, which was a little bit lacking last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. My concern with the Packers is the same as the Lions, is that lack of pass rush. If they're able to get after Jared Goff, which I don't know if they're going to be able to, then I'm feeling pretty good about it. However, on the flip side, we don't know which quarterback is going to be playing in this game. And Jordan Love is obviously not going to be at 100%. And considering a bye week is coming right after this Lions game, I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers say, hey, maybe you sit for this week and we rock with Malik Willis, which does add some interesting twists in the run game because we know Malik Willis can run and he's 2-0 as the Green Bay starter. But honestly, right now, this could turn into the game last year from Lambeau when the Lions came in and won. And I wouldn't be surprised the Packers return the favor just like they did Thanksgiving last year. So, with all that being said, I have to be a realist, and I gotta go with the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. That's right. Last year, Thanksgiving, you thought everybody was injured. They had nobody to play with, and Jordan Love went into Ford Field and dominated the Detroit Lions. And so, yeah, while it doesn't look like there's much hope for the Packers this week, I'm going with the Packers to get the win. And you might say, Tom, that's ridiculous. That's just the homer and the fan in you talking. And I would say, exactly. Packers get the win. Go Cheese. Following that, you got the LA Rams taking on the Seattle Seahawks in an NFC West showdown. Oh, the Rams, a big Thursday night win against the Minnesota Vikings, and I am sure that Matthew Stafford is happy to have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back.
Guys, the boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
Puka, coming back from that game in which I didn't think he was going to get a lot of targets, got all the targets in that Thursday night game. And you could see how much better that offense is with their top 2 wide receivers, which, crazy, right? Kyron Williams is a great running back. Matthew Stafford with time. Oh, man. And those weapons, that offense looks significantly different. And even though, again, there's some deficiencies on the defense, the Rams, they're competing in that NFC West division because it is wide open right now. They're taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who looked atrocious against the Buffalo Bills. They just could not do anything. They couldn't move the ball effectively, and I know that they're injured right now, but it was not a good performance. And taking on the Rams this week, this is a big-time game because, again, these divisional matchups, it's going to matter in December and in January who won during the season, and that might make or break who's going to win the division, especially when things are so close in the West right now. Originally, I was going to go with the Seahawks to get the W here, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but I'm going to go with the Rams to get the win here. I just like the way their offense is built right now, and with Puka and Cooper Kupp being back another week, having some more time to get healthy because they had a little bit of a mini bye after that Thursday game, I'm going to go with the Rams to get the W. Maybe the Seahawks can rebound after losing to the Bills in humiliating fashion this past Sunday, but I think the Rams have the momentum, and I think their offense should be able to hum against this defense, and so because of that, I'm going LA. Then on Sunday Night Football, you got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Colts, oh boy, they're a whirlwind of a team right now. Unable to defeat the Strouds in a close game, and Anthony Richardson, he got benched for reasons.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
But Joe Flacco is going to be their starting QB for the short-term future at least. Shane Steichen coming out today and saying, hey, he gives us our best opportunity to win. And the Colts, they can win with Joe Flacco. It might not be the prettiest of games, but they have enough of a talented squad where they need to look on paper, say, hey, who's going to give us the best opportunity? And right now, that is Joe Flacco. They're going to be taking on the purple incarnation of Satan, the Vikings, being played at home. And the Vikings, they had a rough week. Like I said, they went from first place and undefeated in that division, and within the span of a week, they were down 2 games, and on top of that, in 3rd place in the NFC North. And for me, the concern with the Vikings is not necessarily losing against the Rams. It's losing Darisaw. Darisaw is a big loss, and I know they just made a trade for Cam Robinson from Jacksonville, but I don't know how much that's going to help here. I think that's going to be a major loss. Still waiting for TJ Hawkinson to come back, and the Vikings, I do believe that they should be able to beat the Colts here. Their offense is definitely good enough. The run game with Aaron Jones is good. And the defense, while there are definite concerns, I don't know if Joe Flacco is going to be the guy that's going to put up over 350 yards on them. So being played at home, this is a big game for the Vikings as they want to keep pace within the NFC North. I do have Satan getting the win here this week, but if they lose, I will laugh. And then finally on Monday Night Football, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buccaneers losing a close game against the Falcons last week, kind of got screwed over that Kyle Pitts second touchdown, but at least they were able to keep it competitive, which honestly is really impressive for Baker Mayfield considering there's no Chris Godwin for the rest of the year and Mike Evans is out for at least the next few weeks. It was pretty good how the offense was able to move. What was disappointing was their defense, and that's kind of been a big disappointment for this entire season. And for the Buccaneers, even though there's no Tom Brady anymore, these two teams, they still remember one another.
Man should remember his past. Kansas City 4 years ago, you ran out on me.
And I know the Chiefs remember it as they are undefeated still after knocking off the Raiders last week. Their defense is just so damn good. Travis Kelce getting a touchdown finally last week. And again, Kareem Hunt can just be handed the ball. He can get 3 yards a carry, and they can just grind down their opponents. And there's a reason why they're undefeated. They have amazing coaching. Their defense is playing phenomenally well. And yeah, the Chiefs, they should be able to get a win against a battered Buccaneers team right now. Being played at home at Arrowhead, I think the Chiefs just have all the advantages here. And even though the Buccaneers offense, like I said, did impress me a bit last week with their lack of receivers, I don't think they're going to be able to do the same against a much better defense in the Chiefs. And so because of that, I got Kansas City getting the win. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you got winning and losing this week? You can also still join the Pick'em League. It's totally free. This is probably the last week I'm going to keep it open because then we're going to be halfway through the season. And at that point, it doesn't really make much sense. But if you want to tag along late and follow along, you're more than welcome to. But let me know. You know, find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.